Hello, my name is Rick Hill. Thank you for joining me for Godly Play. Sandra has been sharing Godly Play with you during the Easter season leading up to Pentecost. Last Sunday was Pentecost Sunday. Remember, Pentecost is hot. It's red hot. I will be sharing Godly Play with you for the weeks after Pentecost, because the seasons of the church changes after Pentecost. Today's story is about the mystery of Pentecost. I wonder why Pentecost is red. This box is red. It has a lid on it, so it looks like a parable, but it's not a parable. Let's find out what's inside to help us learn about Pentecost. This cloth is red. It's red like the box. It's red like Pentecost. There once was a tower, and the people built the tower, and they all spoke the same language, and they worked together to build it taller and taller. But as it got taller, they began to speak different languages because they felt that they were becoming more powerful than God. They thought they were greater builders than God was. They even thought that their group, which was now speaking different language, was greater than the other group. Then the tower fell. Their languages were splintered and were broken, yet they remained beautiful. They were broken. Then thousands of years later, Jesus came. And Jesus died on the cross, but then he rose from the dead on Easter. When he rose from the dead, he was with his disciples again, just like he was with us still. So Jesus gathered his disciples together in our upper room. His disciples were Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James the Less, Simon, and Jude. There were 11 disciples because Judas had already left them. One day, Jesus took his disciples and he left Jerusalem. And he went outside the city of Jerusalem to the mountain of Olivet. There, he shared more stories with them. He told them about God's love, and he gave them instructions about what they would need to do when Jesus left them. Then Jesus rose into heaven. Now the disciples were overjoyed and filled with joy because they had just been with Jesus. They'd enjoyed the stories and they had learned what they needed to do and what was expected of them. So they went back to Jerusalem and they gathered again in the upper room. And one of the instructions they'd gotten was to choose another disciple so that they would have 12 disciples again. So they chose Matthias. Now they had 12 disciples, just like they had had before. On Sunday, the 12 disciples were gathered together in the upper room, and a rush of wind, power of a mighty wind came upon them and filled them with power, and it filled the room. The power overwhelmed them to where they felt hot. They felt like they were burning. Their tongues felt like they were on fire. And they started to speak different languages. They were so full of the power and the Holy Spirit that they went outside to share the message of God. The people saw them outside and heard them speaking the different languages, and it made no sense. And they wondered what was going on. But then they realized, just as the disciples had realized, that they were now closer to God, and God was closer to them in a new way. So they went out, the 12 apostles went out to spread the good news, to tell the stories of Jesus, and to tell of the love of God. And they spread this story throughout the land. Ever since then, we remember this Sunday of Pentecost. Remember, I wonder what was the most important part of this story. I wonder where you are in this story. I wonder if we could take out part of this story and yet still have all of the story that we needed. I wonder, have you seen things in our church that remind you of this story of Pentecost and of the mystery of Pentecost? Godly Play is copyrighted material and can only be shared with our group, so it cannot be posted for the public viewing. I thank you for joining me for Godly Play. I look forward to being with you again next week.